Hi, folks. Welcome to the very first webinar that we're putting on with Sean Pastuch at ActiveLife. This is Hewitt Tomlin. I'll be hosting this and acting as a panelist of sorts. Sean, welcome to the webinar. Thanks for coming on.
Hewitt, I'm so excited to be partnered with you guys from a company perspective. The idea of the way that you at TeamBuildr look at the way that coaches need to be taken care of and prioritize the coach's ability to interact with many clients at the same time without losing their ability to provide a really high level service. It We've been looking for people like you for a long time, man.
Well, I'll say the same thing because folks listening will know we don't partner willy nilly with anyone. We just don't announce a lot of partnerships because we look at partnerships as they've got to do something really big. They got to
Mhm.
break down some barriers. I'm especially excited about this partnership because the coaches that we work with, there's a lot in the facility space, in the gym space, in the personal training space. They understand what they need to do, and you're going to help them get there too. But there's a lot of coaches who have their grad degrees, who have decades of experience. And there's sort of like this taboo thing where, like, am I allowed to coach at a college or a high school and also sell programs and also have clients? And I thought, you know what? Active Life is going to start breaking down those barriers. We're going to start talking about the elephant in the room instead of ignoring it.
Yeah, and the other thing that I think is important for coaches to be able to hear is that I imagine on TeamBuildr you have a range of coaches, all the way from the guy who's leading Ohio State to the guy who or the woman who just started coaching clients. And this person is looking at this person and saying, I'm not allowed to be valuable until I've done that. And the reality is couldn't be further from the truth. So my hope and my intention for this call today is to start to help those coaches on both sides, by the way, break down the barriers that are holding them back from where they really want to be. Because the truth is, the people over here, who the people over here think that they want to be, are also chasing false peaks. They would be happy to tell this person, if they ever got in a room together, look, I got problems up here too. They're different problems. And if I didn't deal with the problems here first, and then here, and then here, and then here, and then here, I wouldn't know how to deal with the problems that I have here. And they would destroy me. So there is value to finding the problems at every level along your development, if this is even where you want to go. Right? There's a lot of ways up. Some of them are this way, some of them are this way. There's a lot of different ways up. You don't have to want to be here. But what we find at Active Life, Hewitt, is that the type of problems that plague this person and this person are the same and wildly different at the same time. They're the same in that they have dissonance around believing that they are supposed to need to learn that. And they're different around what that is. So I'll give you an example. The person at the top, meaning they're the head strength and conditioning coordinator for a professional team or a BCS college. The issue that they run into that we see is they're not necessarily in it the way that they would like to be in it every single day. And so, because they're coordinating all of the people who are writing all of the programs and actually executing the job every single day. What then leads to the issue that they then run into is what they planned understood by the next level down, executed by the next level down, and understood by the athlete? All of those things have to happen. And so the person at the top of that program often runs into the situation where, are they going to focus on getting more intellectual knowledge around program design, strength and conditioning, or are they going to chase leadership, team development, all of that kind of stuff? The person over here is feeling like the only thing for them to chase is development. I need to become a better coach. I need to become a better trainer. But they hold themselves back because they believe that they're not allowed to impact the people in front of them when these people are out there impacting people in front of them. They have this false belief that they are not as valuable as this person is. You follow me on that?
Yeah.
So, what I want to help these people with today, everybody who's going to be watching this on recording, is understanding what your true value is so that you can go ahead and deploy it without ever feeling sleazy, without ever feeling pushy, without ever feeling like you sold somebody something that they didn't want, because frankly, that would be unethical. So we can go ahead. Do you have a question?
I was just going to say, let me iterate again the title of this webinar. Sales is your missing ingredient as a
Mhm.
coach. And we're going to peel back some layers about sales. We're not talking sales techniques here, are we? We're getting down to like a bigger root issue than that.
We will get to this partnership is not one week long. So we will get to the tactical nitty gritty, say this when they say that kind of stuff, which by the way doesn't exist. There's never a they say this, you say that. That
Yeah.
doesn't work.
There's no script.
Right. There are paradigms, not scripts. So we'll get to all of that. And we'll start talking about a little bit of it today, just so that you can start to feel more comfortable in these sales situations. What I want to focus on early on in these webinars, Hewitt, is the mindset necessary to be able to execute those high level tactics. Because just like any of the coaches who are on this platform understand, no athlete is taught how to hit a curveball before they've learned how to swing off the tee. No athlete learns how to tackle somebody in the open field until they've learned the techniques of tackling in a controlled environment. We need to first develop the mindset so that you're automatically going to a place of happy to do it instead of, oh man, here comes a here comes a sales situation. I hate sales. I love coaching, but oh man, I hate sales. When the reality is you don't hate sales. Coaching is sales. It's all the same. What you hate oftentimes is probably sales that have to do with the transaction of money, and sales that have to do with the transaction of conflict language. You're trying to get an athlete to do something, the athlete is not doing it. That is a situation that coaches dread. You're trying to sell a package to a client, the client is telling you they can't afford it. That is a situation that coaches dread. Today, we're going to get over that. We're going to get over it, through it, around it, whatever metaphor you like to use for the walls that you put up in front of yourself. We're going to do that today. So, you want me to get started into it, or do you have more questions you want to ask?
No, let's go ahead and get into it.
Okay. So, coaches, trainers, what I want you to understand is two main factors that are at play all the time when you're in any sales situation that make you feel sleazy or make you feel pushy if you don't consider these. These two things are what we call the cost of action and the cost of inaction, both to you and to your client. In a moment, I'm going to dive into what the cost of action means and what the cost of inaction means. Before I get to it, we have one rule for any sale you ever make. And if you stick by this rule, you're golden. It's the only rule that we actually have. The rule is only sell to people who are in the market for what you have, and always sell to people who are in the market for what you have. What that means is you're great at something. You can impact someone in some way with a large degree of certainty. If that person crosses your path, it's your duty to sell them. If you don't sell them, you're leaving them with what we'll get to in a moment, a massive cost of inaction. A cost of inaction that is greater than your personal cost of action to make this sale. The discomfort. The other side of that is for those of you who are here in my early analogy, the beginning phases of your career, and you feel like you can't do what the top strength coaches in the world can do. What you need to understand is that the top strength coaches in the world, the strength coordinators, they wouldn't be the best strength coach for the person who wants to lose 20 pounds. They wouldn't necessarily be the best coach for the person who is building their base fundamentals of athleticism. They wouldn't be the best person for a client who's new to the gym. That's not where they excel. They learn that and then they move through it. That person needs somebody like you right now who is interested in teaching them those skills, who is interested in having that communication, who's interested in going through those tribulations with them. You are actually more perfect for that client than this person is. And this person would happily agree. They'll tell you they could do it, but they will also tell you that the energy cost for them to go back to this phase and work with the clients who need this coach is just too great for them. Does that make sense, Hewitt?
Absolutely.
So, rule number one, always and only sell to people who are in the market for what you have. What that means is if somebody is talking to you, you are confident that you can help them get to the goal that they have if they decide to work with you. That's what that means. Okay, because that takes out of the equation, what if they don't get the results? What if they don't get the results? I feel bad about taking all of their money or asking them to try this thing if I can't get them the results that they're looking for. Well, then focus on selling things that you can, with a great level of certainty and consistency, get people results with. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about what the cost of action means. And anytime you want, jump in and ask a question. So the cost of action for you in a sales situation, and by the way, sales is just a transfer of trust. I believe there's a better way for you to do this. I believe I have the way for you to do this. I believe if you do it, your life will be better on the other side. I agree. Sale. That's all that sales are. You ask somebody to keep a barbell closer to their body, you're selling them on the idea that there's a better way to move that barbell. You ask somebody to change their first step in a 40-yard dash, and they do it, you've sold them on the idea that you have a better way for them to run a 40-yard dash. That's it. That's a sale. So all sales are the same. The cost of action is your discomfort in working through helping somebody get where they need to go. So let's do a non-monetary sale first, then we'll move to a monetary version of the same sale. Okay, so no money, money. No money. Let's say that you're working with an athlete who needs to get faster, and you're working on their first step in the 40, for example. And you tell this athlete, I want you to shorten that first step. Your stride on that first step is actually causing you to lose forward momentum, and it's slowing you down, and you're going to lose a tenth. Shorten that first stride. Okay. If the athlete turns around to you and says, I don't understand. I've always run like this. I've always been fast. If you fear that moment, if you fear that objection, that is where you are going to make the decision before you even have the conversation. I'm not going to ask the athlete to do this. It's when you start to get into snide remarks, like, if you shorten that first step, you'd be faster. That's not coaching. That's being a dick.
It's unloading an opinion on someone.
Yes, exactly.
We do it all the time.
So we all do it. We all slip into it. But the reality is you're lacking the confidence to defend your statement in a way that the athlete's going to understand so that the athlete will adopt it. That's why that remark comes up. Instead, it's, I need you to shorten that first step. Here's how I want you to do it. Here's why I want you to do it. Here's what the benefit's going to be. Do you understand? Yes. I need you to explain it to me. Make sure I understand that you understand what I want you to understand. If you have confidence, that's the conversation that you can have. You should only be selling things that you have the conversation to have a conversation like that around. Make sense?
So for example, if you avoid that conflict you're essentially passing up the cost of action, and then you're
Yes.
getting into the cost of inaction. I see.
Yeah, exactly. So you're saying the cost of action for me is too great. This is too expensive for me emotionally to have this
Mm.
conversation with this athlete. Okay. Well, now let's start looking at the cost of inaction for the athlete. Okay. What happens if that athlete doesn't do what you know they need to do? What is their cost of inaction? Maybe they're just a tenth slower. Maybe they pull a hamstring. Maybe they lose the starting job. Maybe they don't get a college scholarship. Maybe they don't get drafted. Maybe they do get drafted, but not as high as they normally would, and they get less reps in practice in preseason, so they don't actually make the game squad. All because you were unwilling to say, I need you to take that first step a little bit shorter. Here's why. Here's how. Do you understand the benefit? The cost of inaction for this athlete can literally be a life changing moment, life altering. Think about the number of reps that a guy who went from Division I college football to the NFL gets in the first 4 weeks of preseason when he was a first round pick compared to when he was a seventh round pick. And look at how many guys dropped down the draft board because they didn't run a fast 40. Now you can still be great, but you have to do different things really well. Does that make sense, Hewitt?
It does. And I have a question. There's
Yeah.
also a cost of inaction to the coach.
Well, yeah.
For
Well,
instance, and that's what you were getting into. For instance, the first thing that came to my mind was opportunity cost. If you
mhm.
avoid conflicts, you're still paying your time, getting less effectiveness. I mean, that's a huge. I mean, no one wants to waste time, but they may not realize they're doing it.
Well, and above and beyond wasting time, you lose your cost of inaction in that moment is you're not the coach anymore that athletes are going to seek.
Mm.
You're no longer going to be the coach who's able to show up at a recruiting visit and say, look what we do with athletes who come to this school. You're no longer the kind of coach who's able to have conversations with kids, with parents that get them where they need to go. So you're just another person writing a program and hoping that it works. And I believe, and it's my personal belief, that that is one of the big things that separates good coaches from great coaches and great coaches from transcending coaches is their ability to nuance those high conflict conversations. And people who fear the cost of action will forego the cost of inaction. Like they'll accept the cost of inaction and stay mediocre. Now, on the athlete side, if the cost of action for them, once you as a coach have done the hard work of overcoming your own fears, your own discomfort, the cost of action for the athlete is, I'll try that. It's maybe coach does know better than I do. It's that's a little bit uncomfortable. I'm going to have to work through this. It's ego checking, which if you're a great coach and you've done a good job, you've already helped them check their ego weeks ago, months ago, years ago. So the cost of action for the athlete to adopt what you, the person who effectively they're paying to teach them how to do a better job, are asking them to do, it's like this big. They're going to do it. So when it comes, this is why coaches have such an easy time overcoming their discomfort around the cost of action for athletic tasks. They understand the equation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now let's go to the cost of action, the cost of inaction on a monetary sale, because it gets much harder here.
Yeah.
The number one thing that clients come to coaches for to pay money is weight loss. You might not want to be thought of as a weight loss coach. That's fine. Extrapolate this example across any variety of things that you do. Okay. Father brings a son for pitching lessons. Doesn't matter. Same thing. It's money is money is money is money is money. I'm going to tell you a story about this that will demonstrate the point. At ActiveLife, we have a client named Brittany, who 3 years ago was not a client. She called to become a client. She was dealing with some shoulder pain. I told her I thought we could help her. She told me she needs to go talk to her husband about the price point. Okay. Never heard back from her. For those of you listening, you
It's
know
probably
that.
really familiar to a lot of
Yes,
folks. Yeah.
yes. So I thought nothing of it. A year later, the same woman is on my schedule for another call. That's strange. Pick up the phone, talk to Sean. In the last year, I had surgery on my shoulder to try to help me, and the doctors say I need another one. Can you help me now? I asked her a bunch of questions to determine whether or not I was certain we could help. No. Unfortunately, I believe you need that second surgery too. So maybe we can talk again after you have it. Hangs up the phone. I can hear the hope just fall out of her. But like I can hear this woman deflate on the call. I lost sleep for a week. I mean, I spent every waking moment watching sales trainings on YouTube, reading books, listening to podcasts, studying the lives of people who were great salespeople, all because I was like, that will never happen again. And I wrote this person off as being done. 6 months later, she's back on my schedule. Pick up the phone. She is what she would describe as ugly crying on the other side of it. For those of you who don't know what ugly crying means, imagine making one of these kinds of faces and crying hysterically on the phone with a stranger. I had my second surgery. Things started to feel better. And then I was cooking in the kitchen and I heard a pop, and I went right back to how I felt in the very beginning. I went to the doctor. They told me I need another surgery, maybe a fourth. And if those don't work, potentially a shoulder replacement. There's a woman in her 30s who likes CrossFit, coaches CrossFit, is a full-time high achiever in her career, which is not CrossFit. She's hysterically crying. Now, I told her I wasn't sure if we could help her. Honestly, I wasn't sure, but at this point, I felt like there was no risk. Right? Like, what's the worst thing? She needs a shoulder replacement. We're already there. So I agreed to take her on as a client. She's like, great. So it's $200, right? It's gonna be $200. That's what you told me last time, because that's what our monthly cost was. I said it was $200 18 months ago. Now it's $279 a month, and frankly, I can't have you buy that. I need you to buy the year up front, $2,800, because I don't want you to quit after a month or two or three if it hasn't worked yet, and we all believe it's going to. Can you do that? I need to ask my husband. Now, what do you do in this moment? Right? That's a lot more than I expected. My husband and I discussed it. It was okay to spend $200, but $2,800, I'm not ready for that. I need to go ask my husband. Okay. In that moment that I had prepared for 6 months, without knowing it was going to come, I had decided that there was no way I was going to accept the cost of inaction for her. Because the cost of inaction for her meant surgery number 3, surgery number 4, possibly shoulder replacement. Now, she had also told me, I've gained 40 pounds, can't wash my hair, I wear sweatpants because I can't pull up jeans, I can't cook anymore, so I'm eating out, I'm depressed, I haven't had sex with my husband in about 4 months, I don't know who I am anymore. Okay, I'm not letting this woman get off the phone call without giving me her credit card. So we scheduled a 15-minute call, and an hour and a half later, she bought up front. $2,800, here you go, paid for the year. She's renewed twice. She's been out of pain for about a year now. She's been back to doing pull-ups, clean and jerks, walking her 100-pound dog with her injured shoulder. All of those things. Because in the moment, I was unwilling to allow myself to let her not overcome her cost of action, which is money, and suffer her cost of inaction, which was, as she later told a group of people when we held the seminar and she came out to guest speak, she thought about killing herself.
Wow.
So you might not be working with people who are thinking about killing themselves. Hopefully you're not. But the reality is there's a cost of inaction for everybody. And when you're in a situation where you're certain that you can provide an outcome that somebody wants, or you're certain that that person is willing to find out, because I can talk about that in a moment too, you have to sell it. You have to sell
In that hour and a half long conversation, though, was it more about what you said, or is it more about just your fortitude of I'm not letting this person go down this path
it.
anymore?
It's all
What
of that. It's all of that.
it's
So
all of it.
the first thing I'll tell you is when you're telling somebody that you're at, like, always be honest. I wasn't sure if I could help her, and I told her flat out before I told her the price or anything like that. I'm not sure if I can help you, but it sure feels worth it to find out.
Mm.
What do you think? She's like, yes, I will do anything to avoid surgery. I'm like, I want to be straight up with you. If it's going to work, it's going to take 6 months to a year for you to even know. It's going to be a big commitment and it might not work at all. Are you sure you're willing and interested in doing that? Yes. Great. Well, then I'm happy to support that. Never lied to her. So that was one. Number one, make sure that they want what the outcome is going to be, whether it's a certain one or an uncertain one. For her, the outcome was, I will know if I can avoid surgery. That's it. That's what she was buying, right? With the potential of, I can have my life back. So number one is understanding that. Number two is, yeah, the words that we use were important. And people think, coaches especially, that no means no. And in some situations, no does mean no, but not when they're buying situations. In buying situations, no means not yet. It means I don't have enough information. And if you can do the job of framing things properly, which I'll teach you momentarily, I said I will get into some scripting and we'll get into some or some paradigm work, then you never hear the word no until it's time for them to say yes by using it. So what I mean by that is this. Hewitt, let's do a little role play. Cool? I'll be the coach, you be the client. Give me resistance about my cost. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So Hewitt, I think that we can really help you develop the athleticism that you're looking for to get the kind of achievements on the field that you're looking for. Are you ready to get started with us, or do you still have questions?
I feel like I want to get started, but I have some questions.
Okay. The first thing I want to do right there is point out that we didn't say, so are you in or are you out? Right? If I said, so do you want to do this or not? If you say, I mean, I want to do it, but I can't afford it, so no. This conversation is over. Now it's antagonistic. Right now it's high conflict. For me, the question is always, so are you ready to get started, or do you still have questions? It implies if you didn't have any questions left, you would be enrolling. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first piece of paradigm work that I want you guys to do. It's, do you still have any, are you ready to enroll? Are you ready to get started? Do you want to get this thing going? Or do you still have some questions? It's never yes or no. It's always A or B. A is they're starting with you. B is they get more concerns to work out. Follow?
Yep.
People want to be able to tell you no. They want to be able to tell you all the reasons that they're not sure this is going to work. So, Hewitt, let's go back to the role play. So, you said you had some questions. Sure. What's one of the questions that you're dealing with?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how how much more effective your program is than, you know, maybe buying an online program for 50 bucks. Like it is considerably more. So I'm just wondering, am I going to get, you know, 4 or 5 times more than an online program or?
Great, let's freeze there. Okay, so let's just pretend that I already told you what the price is $3,000.
Hmm,
3,000. And he's looking at right now you're looking at a program that's 50 a month, 600 for the year, right?
right.
Okay. So anytime somebody objects like that, what I want you to do is go to what we call AARP. Acknowledge, agree, repeat, and pivot. So I understand. That's the acknowledgement. You're curious if this is going to provide you with a 5x return over a program that costs you 5 times less that you can buy online today and never have to deal with a coach. Hewitt's nodding his head. That lets
That's
me
right.
know yes, I've nailed that. Totally understood, and I agree with you. That is a valid and important question that you should be asking. May I ask you a question in return?
Yes.
Great. What we're doing now is we just moved off of their concern. Follow? When somebody presents a concern to you, what they're really doing is they're saying, I think you might be wrong. What you want to avoid doing is tell them, no, you're wrong. Because now they will not buy from you just to win. So you need to get back onto their side. Follow me?
Yep.
Acknowledge, agree, repeat, pivot. Got it. So I just want to make sure I'm clear here, Hewitt. You're asking if you're going to get a return from this program. It's 5x what you would get off a $50 online program because you can do that right now. Is that true?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
Awesome. That's a great question. It's a smart one to ask, and I agree. That's a legitimate concern. I have a question for you. May I ask it?
Sure.
Have you ever done one of those programs online before?
Um, I did one that cost a little bit less. Yeah.
Okay, and what were the results that you got from that?
Well, I'm obviously here having this conversation with you.
Hmm?
I felt like it was hard to stick with. I like the programming, but I felt like all I was getting was programming. So I thought maybe going from 25 bucks a month to 50 a month, I might, see an upgrade there. But, more or less, I kind of got bored of just getting a program.
Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, you tried one before, but it was less expensive than the one that you're looking at now. And your hope is that maybe this other one that's a little bit more expensive will get you your results. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. But you're here because you believe deep in your heart that this is the best option if you can swing it financially. Yeah?
Yeah. I wanted to explore the best option in addition to the one I
Well,
was looking at.
right. If this was free or if this was the same price, I imagine you would be choosing this, or would you have other questions?
No, if it was the same price, I mean, I would definitely be going for this. Yeah.
Great. So let's stop there for a second. What we just established was you do believe that this is better than that.
Hmm.
That's important. Without asking you, Hewitt, do you think that I'm going to do a better job for you than a program? I mean, if you don't think I'm going to do a better job for you than a program, then what are we doing here? Without doing that, you told me I think that this would be a better choice. It's just that I need to think about the money.
Yeah. So you just said if I was offering it to you for free at the same price, which one would you choose? And by that, I have to say, oh, well, obviously, if you were the
Yes.
same price, it wouldn't be a question, right?
Yes. So now what we want to do is isolate that objection. Got it. So what you're looking at, if I'm understanding correctly, is the $2,400 for the year between what that program costs and what I cost. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, how important to you is specificity of the program? On a scale of 1 to 10, would you say that the program is is specificity a 10, most important, or is it a 1? You don't really care if you're doing the same program as thousands of other people.
No, I definitely want some specificity. Probably like an 8 out of 10.
Okay, wow, okay, that's really high. So obviously you understand that's not going to come from a program. I don't even need to go into that. I know you know that. How important to you, Hewitt, is accountability? Somebody to check in with on a regular basis to make sure that you avoid falling off of the wagon and missing a full week's worth of workouts and figuring out how to get back into it yourself.
I think that's probably the missing ingredient for me because I've done many programs in the past, but I can't think of a program that I've done for more than 6 months at a time.
Okay, so all of this points to me to the online program, the $50 a month program, really isn't even an option. We can take it off the table because you already know that's not going to work for you. What I want to be looking at now is you need to be considering, am I the right coach for you, or is there somebody else out there who might be better? Do you understand why I'm saying that?
Yeah.
Can you tell me why you think I'm saying that?
Yeah, because we know that if the $50 program is not right for me and we think accountability is key, it has, and it's a lot of money. I don't have the option of cycling through 25 or $50 programs a month. I have to kind of make sure that I'm going to spend this money that now I'm focusing on. I'm buying this program for this price. Now I have to make sure that it's the right one at that
Yes,
price.
and the thing about that, Hewitt, is this: the person sitting across from you, you're on their team now. It's almost like you went to the other side of the table, you sat down with them, look, we can't do a $50 a month program. We
Hmm.
already established it's not going to work. We already know that. We were just hoping
Mm.
we could save some money. I get that. The real thing you need to be considering is, am I the right person? Is this the right program for you? Or should you be working with a different coach? You're giving them, you're taking one of their objections that they held on to dearly, the thing that was like, they thought this was their anchor. If you've ever pictured or seen like rough water, this is the thing that they were holding on to that was like, if things over here get bad, I'll just swim back to the buoy.
Yeah.
I know I'm fucked on the buoy anyway, but at least I'll be alive long enough that maybe another boat can come by.
This $50 program is always going to be here. I can always afford it.
Yes,
If things go bad, I can always go do this program.
it's the buoy, but the buoy doesn't move. You just float around safely, hoping another boat comes by. Eventually, you got to get on the boat. So you just explained to yourself that this buoy isn't going to be the thing. I didn't have to tell you. You agreed, right? Now we're faced with the situation of, am I the best coach for you, or is somebody else the best coach for you? Well,
Yeah.
you're here. So you've already decided that you think I'm the best coach for you. Yes?
So yes, in a way, you're kind of deconstructing one decision and saying that you're asking the wrong question.
Yes.
This is the question you're asking. It's almost
Yes.
like revealing a higher level question to them.
It's isolating. And look, if someone's like, I don't know, maybe it would work for me. I've tried in the past, I've gotten some pretty good results. Then your response to that can be something as simple as, well, look, I don't want to sell you something that you don't want or think is valuable. Maybe you should do that. And if you're not getting the results, maybe then you come back. And now it's like, oh, this person doesn't, like, they're not going to try to push me to buy it.
Mhm.
No. But so we'll come back to that. We'll stay on this role play. So we went from, it's a lot of money, to, what if I tried another program for less, to, I guess I can't really do other programs for less, to, my decision is really you or a different coach, right? Okay. Now, Hewitt, I have a question for you before we even get into other coaches. Is it the $3,000 that scares you? Is it the number? Like, are you unable to afford it? Did you not think it would be worth that, or is it just more than you were expecting? Which of those three best describes it?
It was probably, it's just a little bit more than I was expecting.
Got it. Okay. So now what I just learned about you was you do think it's worth it, right? You do believe that there's value here. You probably can afford it, right? Most Americans have credit card debt of up to $5,000. And over 80% of those people have that debt in consumer debt, non essentials. What you guys do for a living is essential. So avoid projecting what you believe people should and shouldn't pay for. They're already paying for stuff you don't think they should pay for.
Mhm.
So you've established that. Now it's okay, totally understand. I have options now. Do I want to provide a payment plan to make it more palatable to you? Or do I want to spend time here and just talk about the price? In this case, I would ask you, look, that makes total sense. You weren't planning on coming out of pocket $3,000 today. So, Hewitt, would it make it easier for you if we broke it down into payments over, let's say, 6 months?
Yeah, that would certainly help the sticker shock, I think, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so look, I want to be straightforward with you. We do have a finance fee of 5%. So it would be $525 a month for 6 months. Does that work better for you than $3,000 up front?
That would be more feasible for me right now. Yeah.
Great. So do you want to get started with us now, or do you still have some more questions?
Um, so yeah, maybe, well, we're leaving out a lot of context here, but if I'm thinking about 3,000, it goes to 6 months. Yeah, I mean, that would be good.
Okay. So the context that we're leaving out are like, what are you thinking is
Like the
most
previous convert, I was just saying as an aside, pretending we had an hour-long convo and then we, trying
right,
to
but
move
the
it
thing
along.
is, when those conversations happen, what the person who's making the sale is failing to recognize is there's only four things people are talking about. They think they're talking about this infinite number. There's four things. There are four things people are talking about. They're not sure if this is going to work. They are lacking certainty in your process for them. You need to make sure you understand that that is one of the things that they're concerned about. And build certainty in your process. Number two, you need to make sure that they have certainty that you have their best interest in mind. They are lacking that certainty. They don't know you like a friend yet. So they're not sure if you have their best interest or if you're trying to make money. You need to be able to explain to them in a way that they understand why they can be certain that you have their best interest in mind. Number three, they're lacking certainty in your business model. Are they going to get a refund if they hate it? Are you going to show up consistently? Is this going to be something that they're actually able to do? Have other people done it?
Are they
And
going to get
number,
the same quality coaching on the 12th month as they did on the first month since they're
yep,
paying up front? That's a
yeah.
natural question.
If you're going to send them to one of your coaches and that coach leaves, is the next coach going to be good?
Mhm.
And then the fourth thing, and the most important thing, is they might be lacking certainty in their own ability to execute your process. You need to make sure that you're paying attention to which of those four categories they are lacking the most certainty in. Build certainty there, and then ask again. So, are you ready to get started, or do you still have questions?
Mm.
It's
So,
always that question.
so it's on the coach's side, it's like exploratory. It's like, let me see where the uncertainty lies. I need to address, and that's what a script can't deliver. A script can't tell you where to kind of focus. It's kind of up to the coach to deduce it from the
Right,
conversation.
the value of scripts, people will say our AARP is a script,
Hmm.
right? Acknowledge, agree, repeat, pivot. Except it's not a script because you can say one of any volume of things. I have to answer it with what you said. So it's not the same thing every time. We have 6 questions that we teach coaches to ask people before selling them anything. We can go over them in a moment here. They are the same questions each time, but they're asked differently each time. The value of a script, and the reason why I like to think of it as a paradigm instead, is we're trying to drive north, right? We're trying to drive north. Imagine yourself in the car with somebody who's like looking on their maps for the best restaurant in town. All right, we're driving north, but we're gonna go eat at this restaurant. So we're gonna get off the highway. Ooh, we should go to this bar. I heard they have like it's a microbrewery. All right, now you're going further east, right? You follow me? Now you're like, all right, we gotta get back to going north. And they're like, but dude, there's this place right over here that has the most insane hot sauce. We have to try it. And you just keep going off path. The script, the paradigm, it's north. That's it.
Yeah.
It's we went for lunch. We got to get back on the road. How do I get you
Yeah.
back on the road? That's all that it is.
Yeah. Because if you're too accommodating, then you're off on all the tangents. You have to have some semblance of a narrative, not control, but a narrative of the discussion.
Yes, and remember, whoever's asking the questions is controlling the conversation.
Uh-huh.
So if you're like, so do you have any other questions? And they ask you a question and then you answer it and don't respond with a question, you've given them control of the conversation.
Yeah.
You always want to be in the control seat. So if you said, I just don't understand how this is different than an online program, I would respond with, got it. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you don't understand how this is different than an online program. Is that right? Yes. May I explain to you how it's different?
Yeah.
Great. I just asked you a
You asked
question.
you asked the question.
And now
Before
I'm
you
going to,
got into it, you didn't explain right off the bat. You
nope.
didn't jump right in.
Right.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to explain how it's different. And then I'm going to ask, does that provide you with some clarity? Or do you still have questions about how it's different?
Hmm.
I'm back in control.
Hmm.
And
I
by the way,
this
people who are going to buy from you, they want to feel like you're in control. If they wanted to be in control, they wouldn't be buying from somebody guidance.
yeah, guidance. I have this visual like metaphor in my head. Right now it appears as if we're on different sides of the table, but you mentioned multiple times you're putting yourself on their side. Like you're
Mhm.
getting up from the table and scooting a chair next to them and looking at the problem from their perspective physically. That's like the metaphor I'm seeing. And by asking questions, it kind of comes off that way.
Yes.
Not direct statements, balls in your court, but let me kind of guide you through this.
If you sell in your office, if you have a gym office and you sell in it, I'll give you a really simple trick that will boost your sales right away. Side sit somebody. So instead of sitting across the desk, which is naturally an adversarial relationship,
Hmm.
pull your chair to the side of the desk so that you are at right angles of each other.
Yeah.
And what that will do is it will have somebody stop feeling like there's a disbalance of power here and start feeling like we're collaborating. And they are
Hmm.
more likely to let their guard down and to buy.
Yeah, I love it. That's like body language stuff, which is just as important as as what you say,
Yeah,
how you present yourself.
and like I said, we're going to have many of these conversations, Hewitt, and I'm happy
Mm.
to dive into the more intricate tactics of a sales conversation. What I wanted to do
Mhm.
today was help the coaches and trainers who are using TeamBuildr to be able to change their mindset around the idea that I'm asking somebody to give me money and instead turn it into I'm offering somebody the opportunity to change their life.
Mhm.
You're not asking for anything, you're offering,
Yeah.
right? People say you got to ask for the sale. No, you don't. You got to offer the service. They're different. So we can go into the 6 questions if, yeah, I think it'd be valuable.
Yeah.
Six questions. Also, for those of you who stuck around and watched the whole time, good for you. This will be the teaser you can run them with. Make sure you stick around to the last 10 minutes when we cover the 6 questions to make sure you never feel sleazy making a sale again. Cool. So the 6 questions are this, and the reason why we came up with these 6 questions is we know that it's really difficult to juxtapose providing a service and asking for money when you feel like you yourself don't have enough money. Because you put yourself in their situation and you say, man, I would hate to spend a bunch of money on something right now. You're not in their situation. Get out of that seat. So here are 6 questions to ask your clients, your prospects, to determine if they should become your clients. Question number 1, is that true? So it would be, Hewitt, you mentioned to me that you were looking to add to your strength. Is that true? Yes. Is that true? Is out of the way. Now there are varying degrees of is that true. I can ask you, you mentioned that you wanted to get jacked for summer. Is that true? Yes. That's really superficial. You mentioned that you wanted to add strength so you could perform better on the field. Is that true? Yes. That's a little bit deeper. You mentioned to me that you feel insecure because when you go up against a stronger dude, you get bullied and you want to get out of that. Is that true? Yes. That's a deep level. You got to connect before you do that. And it's super valuable to be able to do that. Question number 2, How long has this been a problem for you?
Mm.
I've been dealing with this problem for 4 years. Got it. So number one, you understand they have a problem. Number two, you understand it didn't start yesterday. It's not something fleeting, right? Like you don't want to be the coach who signs somebody up on an impulse. Question number three, what have you tried? What have you tried to fix this? Let them tell you all the things that failed. The last thing you want to do is be like, we're going to build some really good core strength. And then find out that all they've been doing for the last year is building really good core strength. Even if they were doing it wrong, they were doing sit-ups and crunches and leg lifts and the crap that you all know is out there. They don't know that. And you don't need to tell them that they've been doing it wrong. They want to be on your team, not across from you. So what have you tried? Make sure you describe that what you're going to do is different than that. Question number four, why do you think those things didn't work? Let them tell you why they failed. Number one, it doubles down for them that they understand I failed for these reasons. These things failed me for these reasons. Number two, you're understanding I'm going to avoid doing those things. Or if I do them, I'm going to do them in a different way. Question number five. Got it. This is an important question. Is getting the results that you talked about a priority for you? Or is it more of a whenever it happens kind of thing? Give them the A-B. Is it a priority for you? Or is it a whenever it happens kind of thing? Mm. No, it's definitely a priority for me. Like, this is important. I've been thinking about this for a long time. Great. Now you know they want this. They need this. They've decided this is important. Question number six. If I need some time, would you like to schedule an appointment to do an assessment and see if I can help you? Whatever it is that your process is there, that they just opted into the top of your process. Got it. So if I blocked out some time on Tuesday, I would love to help you. Would you like to see if working together would be valuable? We can do an assessment. We can check out what's going on, see if we can help you. Yeah, Tuesday works.
I love that. It's an opt-in. It's an opt-in question. It's not a 1 year now or never question.
Yeah.
Is that the idea behind that sixth question?
Exactly right. And if someone says, you know what, it's really not a priority for me right now, at question five, you get to opt out. Got it. Great. Hewitt, look, that's actually relieving for me. If it's okay with you, what I'd like to do is follow up in 2 weeks or maybe a month and just check in, see how you're doing, see if your mindset around this has changed. Make sure you know you always have help here if you want it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fine. No one's going to say no to that.
Can I just say, I'm taking these questions in from the client perspective. Number two is like a pleasantly surprising question because it's like a caring question. Right? You're probably getting a lot of information talking about their immediate problem. But when you ask, how long has this been bothering you? Like, oh, well, this guy wants to know how long it's been. You know, he's looking back at my history. I'm sharing my history with them. That's a pretty cool question. I didn't expect that one out of the six, to be honest.
Well, you know what? One of our staff members, his name is Larry, he has a great way of explaining the way that you should decide if somebody should work with you or not. Too many coaches are sitting in the seat of like, I hope this person says yes, I hope this person says yes, I hope this person says yes. Oh my God, please say yes, I need the money, A better way to look at it is, I have room for one person. I have room for one. Let me make absolutely sure that this is the right one.
Yeah.
Before I sell them anything. That if you have that attitude, you're always going to be selling to people who are in the market for what you have. You're always going to be selling to people who you know you can help. You're always going to be selling to people who you would enjoy working with and who would enjoy working with you. And it takes all of the sleaze, all of the pushiness out of it.
Yeah.
And if you remember, people are always going to tell you no. They always want to tell you no. It's just you want to avoid them saying the word no until it's time to use it as a yes.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, so do you have any more questions or are you ready to enroll? No, I have no more questions. I'm ready. They just use no to say yes. It's not until we get there that you want to hear the word no. Otherwise, it's yes, I have more questions.
Hmm.
If you're ready for that, there's no rush. I book I book calls that are 1 hour long with gym owners who are going to work with us, who might work with us. I tell them in the first 10 minutes if I believe we can help them or not. And if I believe we can help them or not, I ask them, so are you ready to enroll or do you have questions? In the first 10 minutes, the call is an hour long. I anticipate the next 50 minutes being me solving their problems, answering their questions, allowing them to be heard.
Yeah.
Too many people just say, you're great. I know I can help you. We've helped a million gyms just like you. And for a low, low price of $6,000 today, we can get you enrolled. If you wait until tomorrow, it's $10,000. So do you want to buy it or are you going to wait until tomorrow? You're going to waste the money, waste the time when we both know I can help you. And they're like,
How does it? That sounds ridiculous. But how does it help you on those calls when you ask that question in the first 10 minutes? Does it does it make your process easier as far as how that call goes? Yeah.
you know, coaches know this. Doctors know this. When I used to have patients walk into my clinic leaning to the side, they'd be like, "Oh, I hurt my back." I'm like, "I know you hurt your back. I know you have a disc injury that's inflamed right now. I know you're not going to feel better for a week to 10 days, no matter what I do. I know that I shouldn't put my hands on you. I know that I shouldn't stretch you. I know I shouldn't adjust you. I know I shouldn't put you on machines. I know all of those things. I know that the next hour we're going to spend together is only valuable because you don't know what I know. And
Yeah.
so you're not going to be bought into my belief system until you've been able to share yours with me. So the first 10 minutes, I know if we can help a gym owner or not, and or a coach or not. We tell them straight up, we can help you. Are you ready to enroll or do you have some questions? I have questions. Of course they have questions. We haven't
Mm.
told them anything about how it works.
Expect that answer. Yeah.
I don't even, if they say yes, I'm like, shit. I didn't even tell you what you're buying, right? They know what it costs, but I haven't told them what they're buying. So I have to go back and say, you know what? Actually, I think I did a poor job. I am confident we can help you, but before I take your money, I want to make sure that you're in for this process. Do you mind if I explain it to you a little bit?
Mm.
And at that point, I know that they're somewhat impulsive. I try to sell them out of it. And if I can't sell them out of it, I'll let them buy. But the reason why we create that space in the first 10 minutes is because it allows somebody to, for 50 minutes, tell me all of the reasons why they're afraid to do this.
Mm.
It's like therapy. Nobody gives people that kind of time. Nobody gives people that kind of space. People are used to walking into a sales conversation and being sold, not being heard. If you can make people feel heard, appreciated, and understood, you got a buyer.
From the moment one of your coaches does this with their client calls, the very first client call, what does the learning curve look like for them based on your experience?
Oh, um, it varies. So
Yeah.
the variation depends first and foremost on where they're selling. So internal sales are going to be easier than external sales. What I mean by that is if you're a coach walking around in a gym and people already know, like, and trust you as a coach, all you need to do is create a different trust. Because people think trust is ubiquitous amongst all things. It's not. It's circumstantial. They trust you to teach them this in a group environment, or they trust you to spot them, or they trust you to give them form changes. They didn't tell you that they trust you to write their program yet. They didn't tell you that they trust you to be in charge of getting them to their goals yet. So that conversation is easier because they already trust you in one aspect of life. It's an easier leap to trust you in the next.
Mm.
If they found you on Instagram it's harder, right? It's it's a longer path to it. And what I tell people is, if you believe that your sales conversation should be 15 minutes long, for the first 6 months of this, make them 45. Make them 45-minute long conversations, and give yourself a 15-minute buffer on the backside. So you never feel rushed like you have to get to the next thing. You're there to learn. You're listening. You're taking notes. You're writing down the words that they say. You're repeating the words that they say. Think of it as your opportunity to hone your skills, not your time to get people to buy. If you do that, people will buy. When you've been doing it for 6 months or more and you're consistent and you know what's going to come next, then you can take it down to 30 minutes. But a 15-minute call is never a 15-minute call. And that means if you think it should take an hour, I want you to block 3.
3 hours.
If you need to. Right? I mean, we're in the process right now of working on a few different deals, each of which would bring in 7 figures a year. I already know we can provide positive ROI for the other side of those deals. I have no doubt, 0 doubt, because we've done it for all these different people who work in those businesses on their own. So it would make perfect sense that the whole business would, like everyone in the business could get the same results as the dozens of people in each business who we've helped do it. Right? Imagine if you had a team of trainers, Hewitt, and I worked with 7 of the 50, and all 7 of them saw a spike in their revenue, an increase in fulfillment, less time working in the gym, and more loyal clients. Why would I believe for 1 second that I can't help another 30 of the remaining 43?
Yeah.
Of course I can. But when I book an hour-long call with one of these executives, I'm not booking it for an hour in my calendar. I'm letting them see an hour.
Yeah.
My favorite time to book those calls is Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock their time. You know why? I'll stay on the phone until 2 in the morning. They're ready to get out of the call.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can tell, Sean, when you say, or do you have more questions, or do you have any questions? It's almost like you welcome it. You're not ending the conversation there. You're basically saying, I'm really asking, you can interrogate my method. I welcome it because you're confident in answering any question. You've thought about it before you even asked. It's not a vanity statement, right? Do you have any questions? It's, I really want you to ask me some questions here. I want you to interrogate what I'm proposing to you. I can tell every time you ask it. And I think that makes a difference, is the intent behind, saying, do you have any more questions?
And you need the time to have that intent and to execute that intent. It's like anyone who has a dog who tried to train their dog. Sit. Dog's like, fuck you. Like, I don't have time for this right now. You need to train that dog for an hour straight. So if you don't have that hour, that dog is never going to sit, not consistently.
Yeah.
You need to have the time to calm down and bring that intent.
That's a great tactic. You schedule an hour, you schedule an hour and a half. You make sure you have 2 hours. People notice. People notice. They go, I know you must be short on time right now. And you say, you know what? No, this is important to me. I'm staying on. I mean, that means it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. And that is different, by the way, than when they're in session with you. When you're in, I'm not advocating for 1 second that sessions run over. I'm advocating that the sales meeting, they haven't decided that they want to work with you yet. Make sure that they have an opportunity to get all their concerns out. Otherwise, you run into buyer's remorse if they buy.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that in our next sales conversation. The idea that like someone just bought and then 6 hours later they call and ask for a refund because they changed their mind. You missed a step.
Yeah. You could argue if you cut a sales meeting short, that's you're incurring a cost of inaction. The 30 more minutes, the hour more you could have spent, that's a cost of inaction. That's what's striking me there.
Yep.
Yeah. So we've covered cost of action, cost of inaction, the 6 questions, the second of which I love for some reason. I just thought it was a caring question. It's like, I care about the problem. I want to know the history of it.
Well,
So cool.
I think the reason that that resonates with you is because it tells you, I'm not done talking to you. Like, I'm not just looking to
Yeah.
get you to buy.
Yeah. That's right. I'm sharing my history. They know how long this has been bothering me. They don't only just know that I have a problem. They know that it's been a problem. There's some
Yes.
emotion there.
Mhm.
Injuries are emotional. That's a whole other podcast or a whole other webinar. And AARP, flip, come across the table with them, pivot to coming over on their side and looking at the problem with them. I love
Yeah, man. I mean, I got stuff like this for days, and I got Brittany to thank for it.
that. Well, we've done an hour. We've done an hour 10. This is great. This is our first one together. We've got a long, long road. And I just want to emphasize that we're bringing content here that's going to benefit everyone in your sphere, in my sphere. These are principles, right? We're not talking just tactics and strategies. They're built on principles that you're talking.
Yeah, they've been tried and true. I mean, we worked with over 10,000 people in the last 4 years. And the other thing I want to make sure the coaches on here know is we're also going to alternate the kind of content that we provide. I know that Dr. Kate on our team, who leads our educational seminars for coaches online, she's going to be coming on to talk about things like how injury occurs, how to return to sport, tendon issues, like all the kinds of stuff that you're actually dealing with every day with your clients. We're going to bring you that too. We just want to be able to make sure that we're providing you with a full sphere of what we believe a coach needs. And the place where most coaches get neglected is sales and communication.
Yeah, that's right. That's certainly neglected. I wanted to bring up a metaphor without taking too much time in the beginning. When I started my career early on, I worked in sales. People said to me, at various points, you're always selling yourself, whether you realize it or not. I
Mhm.
heard that phrase multiple times. And what they were really saying was that you're always tasked with communicating your value, communicating your understanding of other people's problems. That's kind of what they were trying to say is be on your A game at all times because every interaction is a chance for you to offer or to be able to help someone. And I think that's what they meant by that. Does that mean the same to you?
It's a little different. To me, it's every single conversation that you have is a risk of trust. It's this person either already trusts me. I've been working 20 years to gain their trust. I do one thing wrong and I lose it. I need to have another conversation to build more of it.
Hmm.
The other side of it is something as simple as I want Italian tonight, my wife wants Chinese. Well, I got to sell her on Italian and I have to make her feel like it was her idea. Right? So, every conversation is to me a sale of something. It's a transfer of trust that this is a good idea. I have your best interest. This is going to work. You're going to like the outcome. All of that in every single conversation, and people are deciding every moment if they want to trust you or not.
If you operate with that kind of mindset, you can't help to be intentional in all your interactions
Right?
and be on your A game in all interactions.
Yeah, you
It's
never
not
know who
about,
you're talking to.
you never know. It's not about having your guard up as much as it is about just having intent with every conversation that you have. So meaningful.
I'll leave the coaches with this because I think that it would be good to bang what you just said home. I imagine all of you have a friend who you love hanging out with. You really like this person. They're fun to be around. You have fun stories with them and all that. And if somebody really important to you, somebody whose trust was really important that you keep, had a job opportunity that friend wanted, you would be making a very, very, very calculated decision about whether or not you trust that friend in that environment.
Mm.
Not just are they fun to be around, but do I trust them in that environment? Because if I don't trust them in that environment, that coach, that person whose respect I want, is going to lose respect or lose trust in me, potentially.
Mm.
And before you make that connection, you're going to do that calculation in your head. Maybe you make it and you tell that person about your asterisk to this situation. Whatever it is, you are going to be more careful with that person.
Yeah.
Your friends are making those same decisions about you every time they see you.
It makes you think, you know, who trusts me? Who do I trust? Who trusts me? And where
And
can
when.
I address them? Yeah, and when? It's amazing.
Mhm.
We're gonna wrap it up there. We got many more coming up. We don't have the next one planned per se, but it seems like your colleague is gonna take the next one, the next webinar.
I mean, she's prepared to speak in January. I'm also prepared to speak in January. So whatever we gotta set, like we can do it. I think it's valuable for us to be at least consistent enough to do one every month. And if we have the
That's right.
opportunity to add a bonus one, great.
Excellent. Today is December 28th. I'm not so surprised anymore, but in early December when you said you wanted to do the week between Christmas and New Year's, I knew, Sean's committed, man. He's going to show up. He's going to bring his A game. That's really cool. I really appreciate that. I'm going to say that from me to you.
My pleasure.
Awesome, man. I can't wait to promote this. I can't wait to hear the feedback on this. And I can't wait for the next one. So thank you for this. And like we said, it's just the start. We're scratching the surface. And I'm pumped about that.
Let me show you something before we hang up, because you should know I cleared my week to do this. You're one of like 4 phone calls that I had scheduled. Oh, you got to share a screen with me. You got to allow me to share the screen.
There you go.
So I'm writing this week.
I love that.
I'm already, what are we, like 20 pages into it or something? 12 pages into it. But when you go to a book, they become 2 pages for each page. So I'm going to start and finish that book this week.
Really?
Yes.
That's amazing, man. Writing a book's a big project.
Yes.
You got this. I love it, man. Ethical sales. I mean, it's not just enough to talk about sales, ethical sales, and especially in today's day and age, it matters more than ever.
Yes. Ethical's got to be in it.
Are you going to have a chapter about selling on Instagram? That seems very relevant.
It's all the same. I'm going to have a chapter about the difference between the same conversation in person versus online.
You've seen it all, man. You were there back when you were sitting in an office in a big box gym, and then you've seen it now where Instagram is just eating the world as far as the fitness. It's kind of crazy, right?
I've done everything from selling in a bodybuilding gym when I was 145, 150 pounds, and no one thought I knew anything, to selling in Equinox, to selling in a clinical setting, to selling in a CrossFit setting, to selling on Instagram, to selling on the phone, to selling on Zoom calls, 6 continents. Yep.
I'd say you have the credentials to write a book.
I got the credentials to write the book, for sure.
That's right. You got the credentials. All right. Well, we'll keep people posted on the book. You're going to finish this week?
Yeah.
You're the man.
Yes, sir.
All right. Are you ready to close this webinar, or do you have any more questions?
No, I'm good. That's it. Just
I love it, man. All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up here. Look out for the next one and give me your feedback on this. I want to hear everything. Was this realistic? Did it help? Did you try this in your practice? We want to hear it. Seriously, like it's not a blank statement. We're
look, if they have questions, anytime people have questions, they can send them over. We can do a Q&A whenever it's necessary.
Yeah, maybe someone wants to jump in here and do the role playing as well. That'd be fun.
That would be great.
Kind of on the spot. Cool. All right, we'll wrap up now. Sean, thanks again, man. See you in a month.
Thank you, Hewitt.